Hello guys, how are we doing? Finally, I have the invasion spawn guide after the new patch. It's been a little bit difficult to try and get this because, to be honest, the spawns on the invasion are pretty crap. I'm trying to find a logic in which there is none. So bear with me with this, take it with a little pinch of salt. But yeah, this should complete the spawn guide. So I now have a updated invasion, Karachi, sub base, and terminal. Skid Row remains the same, so if you are after an updated Skid Row, obviously that's not going to happen because it hasn't changed. So you can use the original Skid Row one if you're looking for that. But this will be the final one, hopefully, until they, well, I'm hoping they don't change the spawns one more time, but we shall see. So, kicking it off with a little bit of an introduction. If this is somehow your first spawn guide of mine, welcome, thank you, check out the others. But the blue rings and the pink rings and are the main spawn points, and the shaded areas are where you can block the said spawns. Now, this one slide is a little bit different because it's Invasion P1 and it's super mixy, so just bear with me, but that's the general gist of it, but I will explain things as I go along. If you want copies of these documents, feel free to join my Disc and look at the Spawn Guide channel, and they are all there, along with some annotations and how to block, how to rotate, and the best way to attack from each side. So on this P1, you find yourself in the courtyard in the middle of the map is the actual first hardpoint. The pink spawns are better for this actual hill itself, and it's closest to P2 for the initial. Blue spawning far away from P2 makes it the worst one, and what you're not able to see much of P1 because of there's so much cover. Whereas from pink, you can pretty much see the entire P1 as soon as you run out of spawns. So that's, in my opinion, why the pink spawns are better. Generally speaking, this will be unlike any other hill I've explained in this history of these spawn guides, but generally speaking, if one team has the players heavily on the blue side, then they're going to spawn blue. And if one team has the players mainly holding the pink area, then they'll pretty much spawn pink. Now, if a team is pushed further up P2 Street or Convoy Street, then the enemy will spawn the opposite side of their side. So say, for example, blue team is spawning this side and they've got the majority control of this side of the map, they're going to spawn on one of these three circles. Now, if someone from the pink team is slowly working their way up the right-hand side of the street, they will spawn top. If they're working there, if someone from the pink team is working their way down the left-hand side of the street, they'll spawn bottom. So that will give you a little bit of, if you spawn all the way down here, this gives you intel that someone's trying to pinch through dark or pushing up the next hill. If you spawn up here, it means someone's trying to pinch through the Convoy Street. And it's the same on the flip side. If you spawn top ice cream, it means someone's pushing around the left from the blue team. If you spawn bottom convoy, it basically means that someone's trying to push to new P2. So just bear that in mind. Now, the difficulty in reading spawns, so that's the basics, that's pretty much as it is, but the difficulty in reading spawns comes when someone is overstepping this line. So here's an example of one I've seen in the VODs that I research ones to do with this. So sorry, it's a little bit pixelated, but I've had to zoom in slightly. You can see where this line is sort of, if I go back a little bit, the line sort of brushes over past DVD, past P1 and such, and then like the other side of the bus station here. Now, number 2 has pushed up a little bit too far into their side, and somehow he's managed to obtain squad spawns for this blue side of the hill. As a result, number 3 has literally just spawned in. So he got, because he pushed over that line, even though he doesn't have the majority of players in this line, it's pretty much a 2 on this side versus 1. He's actually overstepped that line and he's obtained squad spawns for the rest of his team, and number 3 has a result spawned here. Bear with me. Now, what happens next is that because number 3 spawned there, he's then he's anchoring these blue spawn sides. So even though number 8 is sort of middle of the map, he's not really doing much here. But number 3 has just run off the spawn here. This is literally taken moments later, the previous screenshot. Number 3 has just run off spawn here. And as a result, he's anchoring these blue spawns on the right-hand side of his team. And therefore, number 2 has spawned there. Now, the last player in this screenshot to spawn in is number 6. So number 3 spawned in, get the spawns for number 2, and then number 6 is looking for a spawn. The computer, the model for the game, whatever you're thinking about, is looking for a spawn to spawn 6 at. And you can clearly see now the blue team, or in this occasion, has like the majority of this right-hand side of the map. There's only maybe one blue side over here, but he's not pushed up too far back. So as a result, the game has decided number 6 can then spawn there. So that's just the general gist of how it works. That's how it can get a little bit mixed if you overstep that halfway line. So, my advice, this is a little bit of a screenshot backwards there. Now, my advice is, if you are spawning blue side and you want to try and flip, the best route to try and do is take a route through dark, go push around the right, and try and get the majority control of the left-hand side of the map to flip. Now, if you're pushed up this right-hand side from the blue side and you end up flipping, the pink team will spawn all the way over here, and that is a stretch to P2. That's the furthest possible spawn on P1 from P2. So that's the ideal thing. If you're on blue, push up the right, play for P2 relatively early, and it will spawn the pink team all the way out over here once you get a decent amount of control towards the pink half of the map. Now, on the flip side, if you spawn pink side, you really want to try not to push up too much. You saw just how easy it was to flip the spawns. This guy, the one guy that pushed out to this side here, he pushed up and then got the spawn flip. And as a result of that one little push, squad spawns were on him and then they flipped. So you don't really want to push that sort of map too much. All you want to do is try and hold the lanes in which they can come and access your side of the map and just try and be a barricade across this line. And then obviously P2 will pop. So P2 is pretty much identical to what it was before patch, and they haven't really changed much. The main spawns we're looking at are pink and blue. The better spawns to have are P2 are pink. Now, the main reason for that is because a decent amount of cover to push towards the hill. You've got a couple of tanks, you've got some archers here, and you can slide behind these construction pillars here fairly easily. Plus, you can get to P3 far easier, which is probably the biggest money hill on the map now, this P3. So you want closer spawns to this as well. Now, spawns pretty much default to blue, which is almost only blocked by being on this side of the walls. So if you're sat at ice cream or the white truck, the enemy can spawn behind you. So just be very careful that can happen if the enemy dies first out of this once you've pushed up past the wall that we've got here. Now, if you're spawning blue, generally speaking, the enemy team are spawning pink, but you can push pink out. So pink includes, you can spawn like outside from blue here or back behind the hold P4, but generally speaking, that's the vicinity in which they'll spawn. Now, if you are spawning blue, the other team is spawning, but you can push the pink spawn out by blocking this area here. Now you need to push up through this really, and it will spawn them teal. So teal is the next available spawn. Now, what can happen is, as long as you've got nobody blocking this blue side and you've pushed all the way through and you've managed to block pink, if no one on your team is blocking blue, they will spawn behind. So as soon as you get a little bit overzealous towards this pack P2 side and the enemy dies and there's no one blocking this blue spawn, they will flip. However, as I said, they will spawn teal if both blue and pink are being blocked. So what does that tell you? If you spawn teal, this tells you the enemy is pushing up to pink to coming off a band, pushed up to 3P2, blocking the pink spawns, and also spawning in at blue. Now, whatever way you spawn, this is just a general strategy of how to play P2. Now, whatever way you spawn, the first teams to P2 are likely to hold it because it's easy to hold from either side. And no matter which way you start from, you want the pink side at least for the last half of the hill, because you really want the pink side for P3. You're going to see in the next slide just how overpowered these pink spawns will be for P3. Now, if you're spawning pink, you really just want to hold from this side. You want to have someone check park to see if an enemy, maybe play through dark to see if there's an enemy trying to run through the park, as well as having pushing up P2 and just make sure they really can't get to the hill as well. Now, on the flip side, if you're blue, all you really want to do is try and bully out P2. Maybe have someone pinch through dark and try and get a couple of kills in the back if they really want to get a DVD push and go all the way around and get kills. But realistically, you want to bully out P2, spawn the enemy palace, and then just run through all the way around this way to P3. Now, you can see here, again, just how good the spawns are for P3. So P3 is this little bus station here. And there are two major spawns, obviously pink and blue. As you can see, it doesn't take a genius to understand that pink spawns are just generously better. That's the word I was looking for, generously better, because one, they've got more cover to the hill. Two, it's far closer. Blue have got to either run all the way down the street, all the way along that street to access P3, or find a way through the rest of the map. So, as I said, at the end of P2, play heavily for the right-hand side of the map because these pink spawns are ridiculously good. Now, in order to stop the enemies from spawning pink, you have to hard block the spawn now. When this happens, they're likely to spawn blue. They're likely to spawn blue, as that's really the only way to block blue spawns is to really hard block it too. So, in essence, if you're spawning pink and you want to maintain the pink spawns, have someone maybe top gas, someone just outside the gas station here on this tank. They're not going to spawn there if you are hard blocking it. Now, if you happen to die and someone is blocking this, you're going to spawn blue. Now, as I said, you can't block blue unless you're pretty much in the circle we've got here. So as a result, you get a lot of people spawning behind people who have maybe just spawned here too. Now, if it happens that someone has just spawned blue and immediately after someone else has also spawned out, it falls to yellow. So let's say the enemy team are blocking this pink side. They're playing well. You've just chowed them from the blue side. You've died. You've managed to get a kill because your team's also pushed up here. Your teammate will be blocking their spawn for the kill you've just got, so the enemy will then spawn out. Now, let's say you've literally died at almost exactly the same time, but a little later from the guy that's just spawned out. They're blocking this blue, so you'll spawn yellow. So this tells you if you ever spawn yellow, that means that one person on the enemy team is blocking gas, and one person on the enemy team is blocking blue. So if you're here, what I would probably do is push up this, but check your back because you will have someone behind you spawning blue, so just be very careful. Now, teal spawn can only happen if all other spawns are blocked, but this is very, very, very unlikely to happen. So it's been a little bit of a mess, so I'm just going to summarize this as best as I can. In short, if you spawn blue, it means the enemy has control of pink spawns, and enemies could be close because it's really hard to block these blue spawns. So if you spawn blue, it doesn't mean no one's near you. It just means that people on the enemy team are blocking pink. If you spawn yellow, it means that enemies are gas station and palace. And if you spawn pink, the best thing you can do is block these spawns and do what you can to get in the hill and forward map control. So if you are spawning pink, the strat you want is to have someone hard blocking this pink spawn, get on one person on hill, and the other two people maybe playing rogue through P1 or just sat on headies watching the cuts, and just not letting anyone on the blue team get to the hill. Now, on the flip side, if you're spawning blue, you do not, I see so many people do this, do not just run down the street, because that's the way they're expecting. You've got pretty much no cover down the street and people can just beam you from no man's land, like you're just running out here to die. Take a route either through mid, through P1, and just try and flip these spawns out. Once you get the kills, the enemy will spawn palace as long as you've got someone in this area. So that's the biggest thing you can do. Whether they're getting kills or not, have someone just alive in this area, blocking pink spawns and spawning the enemy out. That's the best thing you can do. Now, moving into P4, it currently now is this little park area here, this little grid. I know it's not this square, it's actually this whole area here. So it's a super mixy hill. And I've got to be honest, not a lot of time is obtained on this hill. It's a very mixy hill. It's a hill in which you just sort of play for the spawns and keep them off the hill. That's really what you want to do. So in my head, pink spawns are better for P4 for the simple fact you can go top palace or top sandbags and just have a sight of pretty much the entire hill from where you spawn. And for that reason, I'm saying blue is the worst one. Now, for P5, blue becomes the best one, but for P4, I'm still sticking with pink's the better one because you can go top palace and, as I say, see the entire of P4. Now, if blue is blocked, and which can be obtained, which can be done by pushing into P1, the old P1 here, sorry, cafe, and into the small room, or just pushed up the street, then they'll spawn teal. Now, if they're also, as I say, pushed up the street, it's so very easy to block teal too. And if they're blocking teal, chances are they're going to spawn pink, because pink can only be blocked from the spawn point itself. If you're spawning pink, you want to try and obtain top palace for as much as possible and just keep them off the hill. Look over the teammates that are on the hill and just, the teammates can then lie down, watch the dark. One can lie down here and watch the pinch. But realistically, you want a couple people up here just looking over the hill with solid ARs, not letting the opposing team get anywhere near it from this side of the map. And when it gets to the 30-second mark, or maybe even a bit earlier, you then want to have people push down this right side, block these two back spawns here, and then flip the enemy here for when P5 eventually pops. Now, if you're spawning blue, really, you want to hold the left street so you can't be blocked. So what I would say, if you spawn blue, you want someone maybe pushed up to this little area here, hold the left street, or have someone here just watching the left street or watching the hill. You just have to be very conscious of this left street here, because you don't want anyone from the pink team to run up and block these two spawns, because you will spawn palace, as I say, which is crap for P5. So what I'd advise doing is trying to hold these spawns as your main priority, because it's so much easier to get P5 time from these spawns, but try and keep it scrappy. Try and aim for 0 hells, 0 seconds obtained by the enemy team, even if it means that you're not getting on it yourself. You just don't want to let the enemy team get to it. Don't get one down from the pink team and hop on it, because you've still got 3 people to deal with. Only hop on P4 from the blue side if you've got maybe 3 or 4 enemies down in the dirt. That'll give you maybe 5-10 seconds of free time before you die, because realistically they can see it from where they spawn. But yeah, you just want to keep them off for as long as you can whilst maintaining these spawns. You do not want to lose these spawns. So, moving into P5, as I say, this pink spawn becomes the good spawn, which is almost exactly where the blue and teal spawns were here. So you can see why having these spawns are ideal, because this pink spawn is so good for P5. The alternative spawn to pink, or the main alternative spawn to pink, is blue, which is ice cream. So as you can see, ice cream is both a longer route to P5 and a more open route to P5. So it's just generally the worst one. Now, the teal spawn, which is pretty much on this construction site here, is only ever used if both blue and pink spawns are blocked. So if you spawn there, that tells you that someone is ice cream as well as pinching the hill through gas. So realistically, you want to try and play for that kill, or play for a couple kills from here, and then move on up to help your team. Now, if you spawn pink and push through P5 towards the blue spawn and cut them off, you need to ensure someone is hard blocking the pink spawns, because they can flip super easily. So the best place to block pink from is maybe the upper gas, because from here you can provide a lot of help. If you're this top side of upper gas, you can look down here and just see if anyone's trying to pinch from the blue team through P1. You might not be able to kill them, but you'll get the info for your team to pick that up. But by being up here, you're going to be blocking this pink spawn, unless they get some really wild spawn, obviously. But that's the best way, from what I've seen, to block the pink spawns. Realistically, you don't want anyone pushed up dark alley. Past this dark alley. This dark alley here is almost the cutoff. If you're on the pink team, you want to try and refrain from pushing it up, because what you'll do if you're the pink team, you'll be blocking teal by pushing up to this tank, and you're almost going to be blocking this blue visually from being here, which will cause the enemies to spawn somewhere completely random on the map, and it might be with you on here even if you are blocking. So this is where I say don't push up past that dark, but hold these hold this pink spawn trap just here, spawn block, sorry. Now, if you're spawning blue, the strat from the blue side is, in my head, is aim to push the pink out through the mid map, and maybe, run through rugs, run through cafe, run through rugs, and then just get in this pink area and block the spawns. And then from here, you can pinch the enemy team who are on P5 from all sides. Now, the strat, if you're holding pink, is you want to have, as I said, one person hard blocking gas, watching the P1 pinch, have someone on hill just obtaining time, and the 2 other team members pushed up the street, maybe one in DVD, maybe one sort of just in this corner here watching the cross, just to take the gunfights to them. Realistically, you don't want to take the gunfights on P5, because if you lose them, they can just get on the hill. You want to push through the spawns whilst hard blocking back here, and take the gunfights halfway between the hill and their spawn, so that when you eventually lose it, you've then got enough time to get to P5 before they get to it as well. So that's going to do it for Invasion Spawn Guide. I hope it's been a little bit helpful. I'm sorry it's not as detailed as it had. For example, P1 wasn't very detailed like the Red Star, but that's because it's super mixy and there doesn't seem to be complete logic in every spawn. But if you generalize the logic as to what I've done and use that in your gameplay, you're going to succeed most of the time. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.